Hi, I'm Ed Knight, president of Theater 3, and I'm pleased to be bringing you a special edition of Welcome to the Theater. Today we're welcoming back Ron Guarnieri, who got his theater start here in Acton at Theater 3. And so he's also back for his 40th high school reunion. Welcome to the Theater.
Thank you, Ed. I'm really excited to be here.
Tell us how you first got involved with theater.
Well, we moved to Acton in 1971, I believe, 72. And we had moved from Boston. And Boston schools, we were lucky we had desks. And so we moved to Acton, and I went to the Gates School. It was a fairly new school at the time, and I thought it was amazing because we had carpeting in the hallways, and there was music playing in the hallways. It was crazy. And then there were, we had art and music, which I didn't know anything about at the time. And so this wonderful woman, Jean DeBadges, would roll her piano into the classroom, and we would sing and play instruments and do all this sort of stuff. So that was the first introduction I had ever had to it. And we did a Christmas program or whatever, and then we did the spring musical, which was going to be You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. So we had auditions and all that good stuff. And the day that she was announcing the cast, she handed me a stack of papers. And they were handwritten papers, and she had basically taken the real script and condensed it for sixth grade kids. And she said, here, hand out the scripts. And at the top it said, Sam Smith, or Stephen Cochran, Schroeder, And so I went around and handed everybody their script, and the very last script was mine. And it said, Ron Guarnieri, Lucy. And I said, Mrs. DeBadges, I said, you gave me the wrong script. This is Lucy. And she goes, oh, no, you're going to be Lucy. And I'm like, I'm a boy. I can't be Lucy. I said, why am I going to be Lucy? And she says, because you have the biggest mouth in the entire sixth grade chorus, so you're going to be Lucy. And I said, well, I'm not wearing a dress. And I ended up wearing a dress.
Oh, my God.
So that was the beginning of it all. I got bitten at that point. And I remember my mom telling me after the show that night, she goes, your dad was sitting in the audience, and he's like, when's he coming on? Where is he? Where is he? And my mother says, the one in the dress is your son. So that was pretty funny. Unfortunately, that nickname, Lucy, followed me right to high school, right through Acton Boxborough Junior High School, and then it stopped when I went to Minuteman Vocational School. So that's how it all started. And I started doing theater in school at the junior high school, and then I decided that that is really what I wanted to be. I wanted to be in show business. I wanted to be in theater. When I was 11 or 12, they took me to Boston to see Godspell at the Wilbur Theater. And the Wilbur Theater, that beautiful little intimate theater, we were sitting in the front row. And during intermission, they brought me up on stage, and it was really very cool. And we went out to the stage door after the show, because my parents said, well, if you have your program, they'll come out and they'll sign it. And so we're standing outside of the stage door at the Wilbur Theater, and all these people came out, and the girls still had makeup on, and the guys, everybody had, dance bags. And I thought, oh my God, how awesome would that be to be your job, that you get to go and perform every night, and then you get to go home and do nothing else. Little did I know. So that was pretty awesome, and that really was the beginning. And so when Minuteman came up, I was not a great student. My mother used to say, if you could remember your math like you remember lyrics to songs, I would have been an A student, but I wasn't. So I decided to go to Minuteman because I thought, I'm going to get a trade behind me, so when I go to New York City to be an actor, I'll have a trade behind me. Well, then I went to Minuteman, and I graduated in the Culinary Arts Department, Hotel Restaurant Management, and I said, yeah, you're not good enough to go to New York. And I had kept doing community theater, I did all kinds of theater in school. Minuteman, we created an arts program in school because it was a vocational school. There was no stage. We used to put portable stages in the middle of the cafeteria and do shows in the cafeteria. So that was very cool. So I did all of that, and then I graduated from high school, and I said, well, you're not good enough to go to New York, because I had always played fathers. You know, I played Mr. Bumble in Oliver. I played, you know, Captain Keller in The Miracle Worker. But if you want a 50-year-old man in real theater, they hire a 50-year-old man.
Right.
So
Not a high schooler.
I went and I became a travel agent, and that's what I did for 12 years. While I was doing that, I really jumped feet first into theater. And that's how I got to my senior year in high school. I got involved in Theater 3. And I saw an audition. It was called Broadway Bits and Pieces. And I went and auditioned, and of course it was like the big time, because, you know, they were directors and musical directors and people, and I went in and I auditioned and I got in, and I got in the chorus. And so that was my very first Theater 3 show, and what a great show, because basically they had taken all of the great numbers from all of these shows that they had done, and that's what we were doing. So I got to do Dames at Sea, and I mean, you know, Nothing Like a Dame from South Pacific. And we got to do things from Guys and Dolls, and it was amazing with some amazing people. And I got hooked in a big way.
And then I know you've done a number of other shows at Theater 3. Are there some particular ones that stick out in your mind? Those are roles that you...
There are, actually. Don Oliver, dear Don Oliver, who I haven't seen him in probably 30 years, but he holds a very warm spot in my heart.
In all of our hearts.
He's a wonderful man, and he wrote a show called Hallelujah Hollywood. And so I auditioned, and I got the role of one of the gatekeepers. It was Gatekeeper 1 and Gatekeeper 2, and basically we were Laurel and Hardy. It was Rick Barnes and myself, and we wore blue robes and our bowler hats, and we were the gatekeepers of heaven. And we decided who went to heaven and who went to hell. And we got to do we got to sing and dance to Singing in the Rain. It was a very fun show. That has a whole lot of memory for me. I stage managed, my very first show was Milk and Honey. And that was cool enough as it was to be able to do that at Theater 3, but it was also the very first and only time my dad, who was like 70 at the time, performed on stage. He was an actor in the show. And so that was pretty awesome to be able to do a show with him. And it started to give him an insight of why I liked it so much.
Good.
Because it certainly wasn't profitable.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was a very memorable show. And then I went on and I directed another show that Don Oliver wrote. I directed The Magic Box, which was another original. And you know, I got to do all kinds of things. I worked in the makeup department, and I sold tickets, and I ushered and painted scenery. And if anybody knows me, I am the least handy person they know.
Okay.
But Nelson Ziegler would hand me a paintbrush and go, paint that blue over there, and I'd go over and paint it blue. And so
he was quite the painter.
He was quite the painter. Honestly, I've been doing this a long time now, and the sets that we had back in the day when I was there were amazing. They were amazing for a community theater, and they were just amazing. And the costumes, beautiful costumes by Donna Plummer. I mean, just, it was so many awesome people in one place, and I'm so gifted to have been a part of that. It taught me what real theater was.
How did you move from that to your ultimate career?
Well, I'm...
and when?
And so I'm a professional, I'm an equity stage manager, and today is Stage Managers Day, National Stage Managers Day.
Great.
So happy Stage Managers Day to all of you stage managers out there, because we are the forgotten people.
Absolutely. And you take over the show once it goes up.
You know,
you're the boss. Absolutely.
All the creative people walk away and they go, it's all yours. Absolutely. And which is actually the very best part, but that's a whole nother story. That's a whole episode on itself. So what happened was I was doing community theater all over town, and I was in the travel business, and I left the travel business, and I said, you know, no more. After 12 years, deregulation, all the crazy, I said, I don't want to do that anymore. So I ran a dancing school for 2 years, the Center for Performing Arts, Bonnie Stewart, right here
Oh, yeah.
on Main Street.
I studied jazz dance.
There you
with
go,
her.
School Street in Acton.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I ran that for 2 years, and then I said, I love this, but it's the wrong end of the business. And then I was stage managing at Turtle Lane Playhouse in Auburndale. I was also performing there. So I was doing all that kind of stuff. I was at the Concord Players. I was at Hudson Spotlighters, Milford Players, all over the place doing shows. While I was at Turtle Lane Playhouse, I met a woman by the name of Karen Oster, and she was in the cast of Nonsense at the Charles Playhouse. She played Sister Robert Ann, and it was an equity production, and I met her, and she was amazing. Funny, wonderful, warm lady who I fell in love with, and she was going to do Camelot at Turtle Lane. And she said, and there was no role in that for me. And so I said, well, what else you got? And they said, well, we need an assistant stage manager. And I said, oh, well, either I'm the stage manager or I'm nobody. And they said, fine, you're the stage manager. I had never really done a show where you're calling cues and all that kind of stuff. So Anne-Marie Duggan, the lighting person, she taught me how to call lighting cues. Never had done it before. She taught me how to write it in the book. Karen taught me how to do all the blocking notes and all of those things. So that was my very first semi-professional, because I got paid, not a lot of money, but I got paid. And so I thought, yeah, this is it. This is really fun. Period of time goes by, and I was in the middle of stage managing Little Shop of Horrors at Turtle Lane when my mother passed away. And I handed the baton to someone else and went through all of that. And literally 13 days later, 27 years ago today, I got a phone call. And they offered me a stage manager's job for Nonsense at a dinner theater in Connecticut. And I'm like, wow. And I'm like, but I'm really not qualified. I've only done community theater. And they're like, you'll be great. And I'm like, no, I really, I don't know how to do this. And they said, you can do it. And so I took my dad, we went and saw the show. I said, it's all right, Dad, we're gonna go see Nonsense. We're gonna have dinner theater. I'm gonna have a 10-minute interview. They're gonna go, he has no idea what he's doing. And we'll go home. And I had a 15-minute interview, and they hired me. And that was on a Sunday, and I started the following Thursday.
Wow.
And I was replacing a stage manager.
Yes.
So I was a replacement stage manager. And so I show up in Connecticut, 90 minutes away, thinking, okay, somebody's going to train me how to do this show. I can do that. He left the night before, and he took every book with him.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm like, well, yeah, I can't do this. This isn't going to happen. And they're like, no, you can. And I'm like, no, I can't. And so at the time, there was a guy who I will never forget as long as I live. His name is Ian Graham. He was the light board guy. He ran the sound. He did everything. And he said, I can teach this to you. He was 18 years old, I think. And I was 31. And so that's kind of old to be changing careers.
Yeah.
And for those of you that are counting, 27, I'm 59. And so anyhow, I did it. It was called Baptism by Fire, and I did it. And I ran the show for 8 months. And it was amazing. I thought, this is it. This is really what I want to do. But I'll never get another job. And I say that every time. One show ends, and the next, well, that was great. It was a great career, but... So that's how it really started.
Are there favorite shows that you have stage managed over the years? Tell us
there are.
some of your
I have
favorite moments.
Been very blessed with the career that someone has given me. Thanks, Mom.
Okay.
I did the national tour of A Chorus Line, which was one of the very first shows I ever saw that really spoke to me. I don't know why. There was no glitz and glamour. It was like a reality TV show, pretty much.
Yeah.
But it really spoke to me, and it is still my very favorite Broadway musical of all times. But it was one of those shows I knew I would never be able to do because certainly I'm no dancer, and I got an incredible opportunity to stage manage the first non-union national tour of a chorus line. And it was directed by Bjork Lee, who was the original Connie Wong. She is the heir apparent to the show. She was Michael Bennett's choice. She has staged every major production out there, choreographed it, and staged them. So I got to work with the original dance captain. I got to deal with the original costumes, the original lighting plots. They recreated the original show, and I took it all over the United States. So that holds a very warm space. It was my very first national tour, well, actually my second, but that was pretty amazing. I got to do Ain't Misbehavin', another favorite, with Martha Reeves and the Vandellas, and that was great fun. I did the 35th anniversary tour of Fiddler on the Roof.
And you also had played Tevye.
Well, that has a whole story all by itself. So in 1991, it was my last show with Theater 3. And I was working at the dancing school, and Fiddler came up, and I thought, I need to do a show. It's right down the street. I'm going to go audition. Well, I auditioned.
I did too. Yes. Yeah.
And lo and behold, they hired me to play Laser Wolf, which is such a great role, and he gets to sing To Life, which is such a wonderful number. And it's a small role, you know, but it's one of those, it's kind of memorable, and you get a little stage time, and it's fun. So I did that. Well, now fast forward 10 years, I guess maybe, and now I'm doing the national tour. We're in Ames, Iowa. We had sent our laser understudy home. It was like a few days before Christmas, and he needed to have some knee surgery done. So we had no laser cover. Oh, no. But we were fine because, you know, the laser was Tevye, but Tevye was fine. John Priest was amazing. We're in Ames, Iowa. I get a phone call from the company manager because they're driving to the next city, to Ames, Iowa, to us, and they said, John doesn't have a voice.
Oh.
He has no voice. And I'm like, so I call the producers in New York, and I said, so David's going to have to move up to be Tevye. I don't have a Laser Wolf. And I said, we're going to need to put somebody on with a book. Are you okay with that? Dead silence on the other end of the phone. He said, didn't you play Laser Wolf? I said, yeah, like 10 years ago in community theater. And he goes, good, you're on. And he hung up. He wouldn't take my calls. I'm like, I'm not doing this. No. I had a 30-minute rehearsal with the dance captain, the music director, the entire cast before the show.
Oh, my God.
And we were sold out in Ames, Iowa.
Oh, goodness.
And so I went on.
Oh,
and as Laser, it was the first time I'd worn a body mic. I mean, it was frightening. I was scared to death. And at that point, the show had gotten standing ovations every single performance.
Oh my gosh.
And I thought, if they don't stand up tonight, it's all my fault. It's all my fault. It's all my fault. But I did it. It was amazing. It was conversely was the last time I performed on stage. Well, that was a great way to end.
Going out with a bang, for sure.
However, I kind of think that I will end back on stage. I kind of see me doing commercials or something at some point. I think that would be really fun. It's probably not fun, but it seems like it would be fun. So that's pretty much, you know, so Fiddler has a warm spot in my heart as well.
So you're working now, am I right, with the Australian Beegees?
That's correct.
What's that about?
I am the company manager for the Australian Beegees show in Las Vegas. We play at the Excalibur on the Vegas Strip. The show has been there for 7 years. We've just celebrated 2,439 shows on the Vegas Strip. Whoa. In July, the group celebrated 22 years performing continuously, and the mayor gave us a huge proclamation making July 7th Australian Beegees Show Day, which was very cool. And I manage the show. We perform 6 nights a week there, but I also oversee all of our touring that happens. I'm also the publicist for the show as well. So I wear many hats, and they're all big ones, and I love it. I stage manage rarely. I do corporate things, but for the last several years, I go to New York once a year, and I do an award show, and the award show is now called the Cheetah Rivera Awards. And I got to do it last year for the first time, and I'm going to go back in May. So I get to do it with all these crazy Broadway people and Cheetah, and in fact, last year they gave an award to Hal Prince, so I got to meet Mr. Prince, which was pretty amazing. So that's what I do now. And in fact, I just told Pam we're going to Shanghai, China, in November to sing 4 songs. So we're going to fly for 2 days, and we're going to sing 4 songs, and we're going to come back. So it's been a very great run.
You've done some charity things too, didn't you? Do an AIDS?
I did. I did. We do a lot of charity work, and I stage manage a fair amount of that. It's hard to find the time now to do it, but we do a lot of charity work. We do a lot of work with the hospitals in town, where we go bedside and sing to kids and adults, and we're pretty out there doing a lot of that type of work.
That's great.
You know, for years I always tried to find a way to give back because it's really important, but I'm not the kind of guy to, you know, hand out sandwiches. I just never found the time to do that. So with the Australian Beegees, they are so into giving back, which is so awesome.
That's great.
To work with a bunch of people that care so much about that. And I found a perfect way to give back. And so sometimes we give back to the actual people that really need it. Sometimes we give it back to the volunteers that make it happen. So we'll have a night where we invite a whole organization of their
support
the
staff.
support staff
Their volunteers.
to help their volunteers.
Yes.
We invite the nurses in from the Children's Hospital because they're working so hard. And so sometimes we give back in different ways, which is kind of fun.
Yeah. So you use your own skills to give what you can give.
Correct.
Rather than a sandwich. Entertainment.
And it truly has enriched and changed my life. It really makes it full. You know, entertainment is such a gift. We get to entertain people. And no matter what time of the year, no matter what the political feel of the world is at the moment, for 90 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours, you get people to forget their problems and you entertain them. We're not curing cancer. That's important, truly important. But we're not doing that. But we're giving back in a different way. And being able to give back and entertain is such a symbiotic kind of thing. It makes me feel incredibly great about it.
Do you have a bucket list in your own mind? And if so, what would be on it? If you you want to admit that's on it?
This is I am truly living my childhood dream, and that is a gift that is unparalleled. It's my hobby. Theater is still my hobby, yet it's my job and career. If you told me I couldn't do it anymore, I could just shrivel up in the corner because there really is nothing else I want to do.
That's great.
There really isn't. I've had the great fortune of working with some amazing celebrities in my career, some amazingly talented people from all walks of show business. It's a gift. And so I can't really answer that. Maybe, I'd like to live on a house in Maui maybe, but other than that, I've done national tours. I've been in residential theater. I've been in profit theater. I've been in nonprofit theater. I've kind of done a lot. I would like to get back on stage. I think that would be important.
We're doing at Theater 3 My Fair Lady, and didn't you do the tour of My
I did.
Fair
I
Lady?
did the national tour of My Fair Lady. It's a beautiful show, and I'm excited because I'm going to actually go see it.
Ah, great.
And
great.
And I understand somebody really close to me is in it.
Yes.
So
Six different things, I think.
There you go. There you go. So that will be awesome.
Yep.
I did do the national tour. Unfortunately, we were in rehearsal in New York City during 9/11, and that's when we were rehearsing My Fair Lady.
Oh my gosh.
So we lived through all of that. We could not get out of the city, and I was the only management person in because nobody else could get in that day. And so it will always be a special feel. Now, we did call our production of My Fair Lady the Disaster Tour.
Oh, good.
Because we started with 9/11.
Yeah.
And then we were in Oklahoma City with the show.
Oh.
And we had a hotel fire that started in the room next to me, and I lost everything in the hotel fire.
Oh my God.
And then our last stop was in South Carolina at a golf. There was a tournament going on or whatever, and we had no power in the hotel. That's how we ended the tour. It was called the Disaster Tour, but I still have some of the most incredibly wonderful people in my life from it. When we did the show, because it was a bus and truck, obviously, we did 119 cities with that show, so basically a different city every day. We did not do the Embassy Ball because it was going to take almost another truck to bring all the costumes for the Embassy Ball.
Sure.
And so our version of it, Eliza leaves to go to the ball, and then at top of Act 2, she's walking through the door going, that was something. So I miss the Embassy Ball. I hope they're doing it.
Oh, yes.
I'm so excited.
They are doing
Such
it.
a beautiful thing.
And my wife has designed the costumes, and with her helper team,
well, there you go.
has put them together. So you'll get to see.
I can't wait to see
our
it.
amateur theater attempt.
You know what? I started out doing non-equity touring and theater. And, you know, I had a lot of friends that were equity people, equity performers, equity stage managers. And they'd be like, well, you know, you guys do a good job. Well, let me tell you, I probably have, in the years, I did 8 national tours. I probably have had 30 of those kids that were learning their craft who have been on Broadway multiple times. So yes, we all started doing non-union types of work, and a bunch of them are on Broadway today. Community theater is so vital and so important. First of all, it's a great outlet for people. You know, I remember the first time, you know, people worked like dogs to do those shows. They worked all day long. They worked 40, 50 hours a week. Then they came to rehearsal a bunch of nights a week and on the weekends, and to do a show that they loved. And there is a commitment there that sometimes, and I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, paid performers don't necessarily have that drive that you will find in amateur theater. And yes, they might not have the best of everything, because who can afford it?
Sure.
But the heart and soul that are in those shows, I think, can't be beat.
And you talked about the healing nature of entertaining and how rewarding it was to be able to entertain people who were doing very difficult work, like being nurses in a children's hospital or very giving work of volunteering. But there's also a healing and a growth of being able to entertain, being on the other side of it, particularly the amateur side of it, where, you know, you're not getting paid, but that's very rewarding. And whether you're backstage, you know, a critical piece of the team that nobody gets to see,
right,
or whether you're up there doing, you know, like I am in this show, where I'm constantly changing costumes and out there.
Well, I think for those of us backstage, because that's truly where my career has taken me. When people are standing and they're clapping or they're laughing, you know you had something to do with it, because none of us can do this alone. There's 2 of us sitting here today, and there's a whole bunch of people over there making this all happen.
Right.
None of it is solo, and you are part of this team. When I stage manage, I feel like I'm the conductor, because I'm conducting this entire show to make it perfect. And it is a gift.
And it's group art.
It is group art.
And truly,
it is.
Which is a wonderful thing to be part of, whether you're painting this set or you're designing the set.
Correct. It is. And, you know, like the show that I do now, they're a tribute band, obviously, to the Beegees. They can't sing a bad song. I mean, every song they sing has been a hit for the Beegees. But to watch the people in the audience is the greatest part of all, because they are dancing and they're singing and they're jive in their seats. It's crazy. The coolest part is at the end. When they come out at the end, the Bee Gees go out front and they sign merchandise and they take pictures and they do all that kind of stuff. And you see these people walking up in tears. And you see the women crying, "Oh my God, it was so great. You brought me back to my high school days." Yeah. Or guys walking up and go, "My wife made me come and I didn't want to come, but you guys were great. Oh my God," you know. And it's really awesome to see how you actually touch people. Yes. And community theater is everywhere now. There isn't a place in the world that it doesn't exist anymore. And back in Theater 3 days when I was doing it, it was not that prevalent. I mean, yes, we had Theater 3, there was Concord Players.
But now there's one or two in every town.
Right, and you know, at that time, some Theater 3 Concord Players had seasons where others would do one show a year. I went to Marlboro, they did one big show a year, and I did Best Little Whorehouse in Texas out there. But I mean, it's so you can see how different it is, and we travel all over the country. And I was just up in New Hampshire, and I drove by like 4 different theaters that now have seasons that are community-based theaters. It's awesome.
Great. I agree. Well, Ron, it's been a real pleasure to interview you. Welcome back to Acton. Enjoy your 40th reunion.
Thank you, Ed. It was a pleasure, and keep up all the great work you guys do.
We will. Thank you.